Good morning, ma. Welcome to Alpha Online Education. Commerce theory part for the first year's English medium. The chapter that we are dealing with, that is the 9th chapter, Source of Business Finance. So what are the sources are there for a business to raise the finance? Okay, that the things we are going to study in detail in this chapter. So this is the first session of this chapter. So how the business will rise the finance? Okay, so there are different ways of rising the finance. So what are those ways? How the business will rise the finance? We will discuss in detail in this chapter. So first, the classification of non-institutional source of finance. So non-institutional means we are not approaching to banks, we are not approaching to any government agencies or institutions. Okay, in these without approaching to the non-institutions, okay, without approaching to any institution, how we can rise the finance, those things we are going to discuss in this session. Okay, so the source of finance is generally classified into three categories. The first source is long-term source, that is above 5 years is the time duration of that source, and the medium term source, that is above 1 year and below 5 years, above 1 year and below 5 years. Short term source, that is below 1 year. So these are the sources by which we can raise the capital. We can raise the capital, which is very important for the business in order to incorporate. Okay, so in that first long term source of finance, in the long term source of finance we have different things. Shares, in the shares that are classified into two categories: equity shares, preference shares. Next, retained earnings, debentures. Those all things are there which we are going to discuss one by one in every section. Okay, in every session we are going to discuss each and every topic in detail. So in this session we are going to discuss about the equity shares. So before that, the introduction to the long-term source of finance. The capital obtained by issue of shares is known as share capital. Okay, whatever the capital you are obtaining, the capital, whatever the capital you are obtaining by issuing of shares, okay, by issuing of shares in the stock market. Okay, వెజిటేబుల్ మార్కెట్ ఎలా ఉంటుందో షేర్స్కి కూడా షేర్ మార్కెట్ ఉంటుంది. మరి మన ఇండియాలో షేర్ మార్కెట్ ఎక్కడుంది మేడం అంటే 2 బిజినెస్ స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజెస్ ఉన్నాయి మన దగ్గర. 2 పెద్దవి, 2 యాక్చువల్లీ 3 ఉన్నాయి. ఏంటివి అంటే బాంబే స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్ BSE, బాంబే స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్, నేషనల్ స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్, కలకత్తా స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్. సో ఈ 3 స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజెస్ అనేవి ఇండియాలో టాప్ మోస్ట్ స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్. వీటిలో ద మోస్ట్ నెంబర్ 1 స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్ వచ్చేసి నేషనల్ స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్. ఎక్కడుంది మేడం ఇది అంటే బాంబే స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్, నేషనల్ స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్ రెండు ముంబైలో ఉన్నాయి. నెక్స్ట్ కలకత్తా స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్ కలకత్తాలో ఉంది. ఓకే, సో capital obtained by issue of shares, when we are gathering the capital ante mooladhanam. Okay, in order to start the business we require a capital. So if you are issuing the shares in order to get the capital, that capital is known as a share capital. The capital of the company is divided into small units. Okay, the total capital of the company is divided into small units. The small units are known as shares. Okay, those small units are known as shares. For example, a company can issue 1 lakh shares. A company can issue 1 lakh shares. షేర్ అంటే పేపర్ ఉంటుందమ్మా. షేర్ అనేది పేపర్, ఒక డాక్యుమెంట్, పేపర్ డాక్యుమెంట్ ఉంటుంది. సో 1 lakh పేపర్స్ ఇష్యూ చేస్తున్నాం ఆఫ్ ₹10. ఒక పేపర్ కాస్ట్ ఎంత అంట? 10 రూపీస్ అంట. ఓకే, ఈచ్ ఫర్ ద టోటల్ వాల్యూ ఆఫ్ ₹10 lakhs. ₹10 lakhs. సో ఇక్కడ చూడండి, కంపెనీ షేర్స్ ఎన్ని ఇష్యూ చేస్తుంది? 1 lakh షేర్స్ ఇష్యూ చేస్తుంది. ప్రతి షేర్ విలువ ఎంత? ₹10 రూపీస్. రూపీస్ ఈజ్ 10 రూపీస్. ఇప్పుడు మీరు total value కనుక్కోవాలనుకుంటే, if you want to know the total value of the capital, then you have to multiply number of shares into price per share. Okay, number of shares into price per share, then you will get the total value of the amount, total value of the capital, that is 10 lakhs rupees. Okay, the person holding the share, when we are holding the share, holding means pattukunnam. Okay, when we are holding the share, when any person holding the share, that person is known as shareholders. Okay, if a person is holding the share, that person is known as a shareholder. We have two types of shares. One is equity share, another one is preference shares. Okay, one is equity share and another one is preference shares. Ippudu in this session we are going to discuss about the equity shares with merits and its demerits or limitations, ante advantages and disadvantages of equity shares. Okay, so equity shares are also known as ordinary shares. So equity shares ni emani antamu, ordinary shares. Okay, why we are calling it as an ordinary shares means it represents the ownership of the company. So who are holding the equity shares, those are the owners of the company. Okay, who are holding the equity shares, they are the real owners of the company. Yes, and thus the capital raised by issuing the shares is known as ownership capital. If you are issuing equity shares and some of the investor has purchased that shares, then that investors will become the owners of the company, and whatever the capital they bring by purchasing the equity shares, that capital is known as ownership capital or owner's fund. Okay, whatever the capital that is brought by equity shareholders by purchasing the equity shares, they will become the owners of the company, and the capital that they brought, that is known as ownership capital or owner's fund. Okay, so equity shareholders dividend is not fixed. డివిడెంట్ అంటే ఏంటిది మేడం అంటే, ఇప్పుడు బ్యాంక్స్ ఉన్నాయి, బ్యాంక్లో మనం డిపాజిట్ చేస్తే మనకి ఏమొస్తుంది, ఎవ్రీ మంత్ ఫిక్స్డ్ రేట్ ఆఫ్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ అనేది వస్తుంది. ఏమొస్తుంది, ఫిక్స్డ్ రేట్ ఆఫ్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ అనేది వస్తుంది. అదేవిధంగా ఈక్విటీ షేర్స్ని ఎవరు హోల్డ్ చేస్తారో, ద పర్సన్ హూ హోల్డ్ ద ఈక్విటీ షేర్స్, దట్ పర్సన్ విల్ గెట్ ద డివిడెంట్. ఓకే, ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఎట్లా ఉంటుందో డివిడెంట్ అనేది షేర్స్ మీద ఇస్తాము. ఓకే, బట్ ద డివిడెంట్ ఈజ్ నాట్ ఫిక్స్డ్ ఇన్ ద ఈక్విటీ షేర్స్. ఓకే, the equity shareholders dividend is not fixed because they are the owners, they have to bear the losses, they have to take the excess profits, so the dividend is not at all fixed. Means whatever the income that they have to get from the equity shares, that is not at all a fixed income. So merits ante advantages, merits means advantages. So equity shares do not create any obligation to pay a fixed dividend. So equity shares does not create any kind of obligation. Obligation means must and should. Okay, responsibility. So there is no need to pay fixed dividend to the equity shareholders because they are the real owners of the company. So after giving all people, they will receive the dividend finally. So the dividend is not fixed. Equity shares can be issued without creating any charge over the assets of the company. So these can be issued without creating any charge, over the assets of the company. What are the assets of the company? Plant and machinery, furniture, building, equipment, tools. So there is no need to create charges over the assets of the company. So while issuing, there is no need to create such charges that over the assets. Yes, so that is also advantage. It is a permanent source of capital. Okay, it is a permanent source of capital and company need not repay it. The company will not repay it. Whatever the capital that brought by the equity shareholders, that is not paid by the company. That is permanent source of capital for the company. Permanent mooladhanam adi. Okay, company lone untundi. So no need to pay back to the equity shareholders. But when the company in the situation of liquidation means when the company is closing. Okay, when all assets are converting into the cash. Okay, when all assets are converting into the cash. Liquidation ante when all assets are converting into the cash, then only whatever the capital brought by the equity shareholders is given to the equity shareholders. Then only the share capital of the equity shareholders is repaid. Equity shareholders are the real owners of the company who have the voting rights. Yes, equity shareholders are the real owners of the company. They have the voting rights. By the voting rights, they will select the board of directors, general managers, and other directors. They only select by giving vote to the board of directors. In case of profits, equity shareholders are the real gainers. Okay, if there is more profit, then they will take more amount of profit as a dividend by way of increased dividend. By the way of increased dividends and appreciation in the value of the shares. Appreciation means increase. They will increase the value of the share also. So in this way they will gain. When the profit is increased, at that time the dividend will be increased. If they are getting the dividend of every month, they are getting dividend of 2,000, 2,500 another month, some months 1,500. If like this, they have the fluctuation in their dividend. Okay, if there is more profit at the time, they will take something like this dividend, 25,000 rupees as a dividend. And also, if their share value is rupees, one share, for example, the share value is rupees 2,000 rupees, then they will increase the value of the share to 20,000 rupees also. So that's why when there is a profit, there are the real gainers. Equity shareholders are the real gainers. So limitations means the disadvantages of having equity shareholders. Okay, investors who want a steady income. Steady income means fixed income. The investors who want fixed incomes may not prefer equity shares. They should not have to prefer equity shares because the returns are always fluctuating. See, the returns are always fluctuating. Who want the steady income means fixed income, they should not have to prefer the equity shares. Okay, the cost of equity shares is generally more. Okay, the cost of equity shares is generally more as compared to the cost of rising fund through other securities, other sources. Other sources means from banks or from financial institutions. That is very easy, but as compared to the cost of equity shares, the equity shares cost is very more. Generally it is more as compared to rising fund from the other source, means from the banks, from the financial institutions or from the creditors. That is easy than rising from the equity shares. Issue of additional equity shares dilutes, means it reduces, means it will not give any double voting power. Okay, it will not give any double voting power or earning of equity shares. Okay, if they have additional equity shares, okay, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఎక్స్ అన్న పర్సన్ ఉన్నాడు, అతని దగ్గర ఫస్ట్ 20 ఈక్విటీ షేర్స్ ఉండే, ఇప్పుడు 25 ఈక్విటీ షేర్స్ ఉన్నాయి. 20 ఈక్విటీ షేర్స్ ఉన్నప్పుడు అతనికి 1 ఓటింగ్ రైట్ ఉండే, 25 వచ్చినప్పుడు కూడా 1 ఓటింగ్ రైటే ఉంటుంది. ఇక్కడ ఎర్నింగ్స్ అనేవి ఫ్లక్చువేట్ అయినాయి. 20 ఉన్నప్పుడు, 25 ఉన్నప్పుడు కూడా ఎర్నింగ్స్ అనేవి ఫ్లక్చువేట్ అవుతూనే ఉంటాయి. సో దెర్ ఈజ్ నో ఎనీ ఛాన్స్ ఆఫ్ డైల్యూట్స్, మీన్స్ దెర్ ఈజ్ నో డబుల్. సో 20 షేర్స్ నుంచి 25కి వచ్చిండు కాబట్టి 2 ఓటింగ్ పవర్స్ ఇలాంటివి ఉండవు. సో 1 ఓట్ ఓన్లీ ఈజ్ దేర్. Next, more legal formalities and procedural delay are involved. So more legal formalities are there, and the procedure of issuing the equity share is also take much time while raising fund through the issue of equity shares. So when we want to raise the fund by issuing the equity share, there will be more legal formalities, and also it will take the much time in order to raise the capital from the equity share. So these are the main few limitations of the equity share. Okay, these are the merits, means advantages, and these will be the disadvantages of equity shares. So this is about the equity share. Let us meet in other session with other topic, that is preference shares. How many types of preference shares are there, what are the merits of the preference shares, and what are the demerits or limitations or disadvantages of preference shares, that we will discuss in the next session. Okay. Good morning ma, welcome to all for online education. Commerce theory part for the first year's English medium. The chapter that we are dealing is the ninth chapter, that is the source of business finance. Okay, in this chapter we are dealing with the section, that is the second session of this chapter. So in the previous session we have discussed about the equity shares, and in this session we are going to discuss about the preference shares. So let us see what are the preference shares. The capital raised by the issue of preference shares is called preference share capital. Okay, whatever the capital that has been raised by the issue of preference shares, when we are raising the capital by issuing the preference shares, then that capital is known as preference share capital. Preference shareholders have fixed rate of dividend. Here the rate of dividend for the preference shareholders is generally fixed. Okay, whereas in the equity shareholders they don't have the fixed dividend, but the preference shareholders will have the fixed rate of dividend out of the net profit of the company. Okay, if the company gets a net profit, from that profit the dividend is given to the fixed rate of dividend, 10%, 15%, 30%, whatever that percentage, that fixed rate of dividend is given to the preference shareholder who are holding the preference shares. For them we are giving the dividend, that is the fixed dividend, before any dividend declared to equity shareholder. So first the dividend is declared to the preference shareholder, then after the dividend whatever left, whatever the profit is left, whatever the net profit is left, that is given to the equity shareholders. So first the preference shareholders will get the fixed rate of dividend, receiving their capital after the claims of the company creditors have been settled. So when the preference shareholders will receive the dividend, means first the creditors of the company, creditors means company ఎవరికైతే బాకీ ఉందో వాళ్ళు కంపెనీకి ఏమవుతారంటే క్రెడిటార్స్ అవుతారు. ఏబీసీ కంపెనీ ఇఫ్ ఎక్స్ అనే పర్సన్కి బాకీ ఉంది, ఏబీసీ కంపెనీ ఎక్స్ అన్న పర్సన్కి బాకీగా ఉంటే ఎక్స్ ఏమవుతాడంటే ఏబీసీ కంపెనీకి క్రెడిటార్ అవుతాడు. సో ఫస్ట్ క్రెడిటార్స్కి పే చేసినాక తర్వాత ప్రిఫరెన్స్ షేర్ హోల్డర్స్కి ఫిక్స్డ్ డివిడెండ్ పే చేసేస్తారు. దెన్ ఆఫ్టర్వర్డ్స్ వాట్ ఎవర్ ద ప్రాఫిట్, నెట్ ప్రాఫిట్ ఈజ్ దేర్, in that net profit the amount is distributed to the dividend is distributed to the equity shareholders. So types of preference shares. What are the types of preference shares are there? Let us see. Cumulative preference shares. So the dividend is collected if it is not paid during the year. If in the year 2020, if the dividend is not given to the preference shareholder of these type, cumulative type, so they will collect the dividend in the next year. Okay, they will not left the dividend. Okay, they will receive the dividend, they will collect the dividend from the company in the next year, in the 2021. Okay, so the type of preference shares are known as cumulative preference shares. Next, non-cumulative preference shares. Under non-cumulative preference shares, the dividend does not accumulated. Accumulated means collected. Okay, what's the meaning of accumulation means? Collected. The dividend is not collected here. Okay, the dividend does not collected under non-cumulative preference shares. The dividend is collected under cumulative preference shares. If they are not paid in 2020, they have to pay in the future in 2021. The company has to pay the dividend to the preference shareholder if there are cumulative. If there are non-cumulative, there is no need to pay. Participating preference shares. So participating means those preference shares which have a right to participate in the company's surplus. Surplus means excess profit. Excess profit, ఎక్కువ ప్రాఫిట్స్ వచ్చినప్పుడు ఆ అమౌంట్ని ఏమంటామంటే సర్ప్లస్ అమౌంట్ అంటాం. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ we expected the profit of 20 crores but we got the profit of 49 crores. Then that amount, whatever the amount is there, 29 crores excess amount, that amount is considered as a surplus amount. Excess amount ni surplus antam. Okay, so participating preference shares, those preference shares which have a right to participate in the company's surplus after paying dividend to equity shareholders and preference shareholders. Okay, first the company will pay the dividend to the creditors. After that it will pay to the preference shareholders. Then after it will pay to the equity shareholders. If there is any surplus amount remain, then that amount is taken by the participating preference shareholders who are holding these type of preference shares. Means which type of participating type of preference shares who are holding, they will get this type of dividend. Non-participating preference shares, they does not enjoy the right to participate in the profit of the company. They will not participate in collecting any excess amount, means any surplus amount of the company. Convertible preference shares means these shares can be converted into equity shares within a specified time period. 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever it may be the time duration. After that, that preference shares will be converted into equity shares. Means the person who holding convertible preference shares ఎవరైతే హోల్డ్ చేస్తారో, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ వాళ్ళ టైం డ్యూరేషన్ 2 years ఉందనుకోండి, 2 years తర్వాత వాళ్ళు ఈక్విటీ షేర్ హోల్డర్స్ అయిపోతారు. అంటే వాళ్ళు ఓనర్స్ అయిపోతారు. ఎస్, ఈక్విటీ షేర్ హోల్డర్స్ ఎంతమంది ఉన్నారో వాళ్ళతో పాటు వీళ్ళు కూడా ఓనర్స్ అవుతారు ఆ కంపెనీకి. సో దోస్ టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ షేర్స్ ఆర్ నోన్ యాజ్ కన్వర్టబుల్ ప్రిఫరెన్స్ షేర్స్. Non-convertible preference shares means they are not converted into equity shares. Redeemable preference shares, those shares the investment on which are to be paid back to the respective holder after the completion of certain period of time. So whatever the investment that is done by the preference shareholder, they will get the investment amount. Okay, they will get the investment amount after a certain time period. After the completion of certain time period, the holder will get the total investment amount. If he invested 10 lakhs rupees, he will get the 10 lakhs rupees immediately after the completion of a certain time period. Next, irredeemable preference shares. irredeemable preference shares. The shares does not carry any fixed period of repayment. So there is no need of repaying anything in case of irredeemable. Remedial preference shares, irremedial preference shares. So in case of irremedial preference shares, there is no need to repay the amount. There is no need to repay the amount in case of irremedial preference shares. Next one, merits. So fixed rate of dividend and safety of investment. So what is the merit advantage means? There is a fixed rate of dividend and safety of investment. Whatever you are investing, you will get back after a completion of a certain period of time. Next, useful for those investors who want to get fixed rate of return with a comparatively low risk, who don't want to take risk and they want to get a fixed rate of dividend. For them it was very comfortable. So those investors will prefer the preference shares. Okay, it is a superior security over equity shares. It is a superior security. It is more secure because it will have a fixed rate of dividend regularly. So it is more superior security than the equity shares. Payment of the fixed rate of dividend to preference shares may enable a company to declare high rate of returns, high rate of dividend for the equity shareholders in good times. First, the company will pay the amount to the creditors. After that, it will be pay the fixed dividend to the preference shareholders. So after paying to the preference shareholders in the good time, if the company got the more profit, at that time the equity shareholders will get the good returns due to first only receiving the amount by the preference shareholders. Next one, preference capital does not create any type of charge against the assets of the company. So preference capital does not create any charges, okay, against the assets of the company, because they are not the owners of the company. So they are not going to charge against the assets of the company. So these are the advantages of the preference shares. Now let us see the disadvantages. Those are the limitations of the preference shares. Not suitable for those who are willing to take risk and are interested in higher returns. Means who want to take risk and want to get a higher returns, for them it is not useful, because for them equity shares are good, because they are taking the risk and they are they are interested to get the high returns. But in the preference shares, the returns are not high and the risk is also very less. Preference capital dilutes the claims of the equity shareholders over the assets of the company. So what these preference shareholders will do, preference capital will do means, it will not double, it will not the preference capital double, it will double the claim of the equity shareholder over the assets of the company. So preference shareholders also bring the capital. So when the preference capital is brought, the company will purchase more assets so that the equity shareholders can claim more amount over the assets of the company. Means when they are selling the some assets which are very old assets, then the equity shareholders will get the more amount from that assets. The rate of dividend on preference shares is higher than the rate of interest on debentures. So the rate of dividend, the dividend rate is very more to preference shares as compared to the rate of dividend on preference share is higher, very high than the rate of interest on debentures. So debentures also a type of way to raise the capital. So on the debentures we are going to pay the interest. How we are paying dividend to the preference shareholder? For the debenture holder we will pay the interest. So when we compare the debenture holder and preference shareholder, the preference shareholder only getting the high rate of returns. as the dividend on the shares is to be paid only when the company earns the profit. So the preference shareholders will get the dividend only when the company earns the profit. If the company is not earning any profit, there is no any kind of fixed dividend to the preference shareholders. Okay, there is no assured return for the investor, thus their share may not be very attractive to the investor. So this is not such much attractive for the investor, because if the company get the profit, then only they will get the dividend. If there is no profit, then there is no dividend. And one more thing, that the preference capital does not create any charges against the assets of the company. So if the company purchase any assets, for that also they are not getting anything. Okay, if the company purchased asset and it has sold for some profit, even though at that time also the preference shareholders are not getting any kind of dividend. So the preference shareholders will get the dividend fixed when the company earns the profit, then only they will get the fixed rate of dividend. So this is about the disadvantages of preference shares. Let us meet in the other session with the differences between the equity shares and the preference shares. Okay, right. Good morning, ma. Welcome to Alpha Online Education Commerce Theory part for the first year's English medium chapter that we are dealing with. That is the 9th chapter, Source of Business Finance. This is the 3rd session of the chapter. So in this session we are going to know the differences between the equity shares and the preference shares. So let us see the differences. Choice of issue. So issue of equity shares is compulsory, but the issue of preference shares is not at all a compulsory. Okay, the issue of equity shares is compulsory. Next, payment of dividend. Dividend is paid after paying the dividend to the on preference shareholders. The equity shareholders will receive the dividend after preference shareholders have been received. Okay, here the dividend is paid before paying dividend to the equity shareholders. Yes, first the equity shareholders will receive the dividend, after that equity shareholders will receive the dividend. Rate of dividend. The rate of dividend is not fixed. The rate of dividend is not fixed in case of equity shareholders, and the equity shareholders dividend is decided by the board of directors of the company. But whereas come to preference shares, that is prefixed, means mundugane fix chesi pedtaru. So rate of dividend for the preference shareholders is prefixed and pre-communicated. Next, voting rights. Equity shareholders don't have have the voting right. Preference shareholders have no voting right. Next, risk profile. It is highly risky and it is less risky. Next one is speculation. Speculation means investing in certain asset with an intention or with knowing that there is a risk while investing in certain assets. So there is a scope for speculation in equity shares, but there is no any kind of scope for speculation because the preference shareholders does not want to take the risk, but the equity shareholders want to take the risk and profit. So there is a scope for speculation. Next one, bonus shares. So bonus shares means additional shares. So equity shareholders will receive the bonus shares, but the preference shareholders will not receive the bonus shares. Next, return of capital. So in case of winding up, the capital is refunded after the payment of preference share capital. After giving the preference share capital, whatever the preference share capital brought by the preference shareholders, after making the settlement of that preference share capital, after that only the equity shareholders will get their preference share capital during the winding up of the company. Winding up means during the closing of the company. So in case of winding up of the capital, capital is repaid before the equity shares. So before the equity shareholders receiving the capital, before the equity shareholder receiving the capital, the preference shareholders will receive the capital. So this is the differences between equity shares and preference shares. Let us meet with the other topic in the other session. Yes. Good Morning ma, welcome to Alpha Online Education. Commerce theory part for the first year's English medium. The chapter that we are dealing with is the 9th chapter, Sources of Business Finance. So this is the 4th session of our chapter. So here we are discussing about the retained earning. So retained earnings means, if for example, if a company got a profit of 10 rupees, in that 10 rupees it will give 5 rupees to the shareholders, both equity shareholder and preference shareholder, and 2 rupees to the creditors, and 3 rupees are left with the company. In these 3 rupees are kept as retained earnings, means they will save that 3 rupees for the development of the business or further survival of the business organization. Okay, let us I will explain you, by that you can understand what it is. A company generally do not distribute all its earnings among the shareholders as a dividend. If a company getting 10 rupees, for example 10 rupees earnings means 10 rupees profit, then it will not going to distribute the total 10 rupees profit to the shareholders. Okay, it will share half percentage or 75% of the profit, and it will keep 25% as reserves. Okay, 25% దాచి పెట్టుకుంటారు వాళ్ళు. ఓకే, ఫర్ ద డెవలప్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ ద బిజినెస్ కావచ్చు, ఫర్ ద ఎక్స్పాన్షన్ ఆఫ్ ద బిజినెస్ దానికోసమైనా కావచ్చు. మొత్తం వాళ్ళకు డివిడెంట్ రూపంలో ఇవ్వరు. దే విల్ సేవ్ సెటన్ అమౌంట్ ఫర్ ద ఫ్యూచర్ యూజ్. ఓకే, a proportion of the net earning may be retained in the business for the use in the future. So whatever the portion that has been saved for the future purpose, it is used for the future. This is known as retained earning. Simply we can say that among the total profit is not distributed among the shareholders. Okay, in the form of dividend the total amount is not distributed. A certain portion of that profit is kept aside and that is used for the future development. That is known as retained earnings. It is a source of internal financing. Internal financing means the organization or the business itself create that kind of financing. Okay, it is not going to borrow from any other money lenders. It is not going to borrow from the shareholders or anything. It is just created by itself. The business itself, it is created that internal financing or self-financing, means the business itself created such a financing or plugging back of profits. Plugging back means when the dog dig the have you seen the dog digging the శాండ్ని డాగ్ డిగ్ చేసినప్పుడు చూసిండ్రా, ఆ కాళ్ళతో ఏం చేస్తుంటాడు, వెనుకకి నూకేస్తుంటాడు. ఆ శాండ్ని మొత్తము కుక్క ఏం చేస్తుంది, కాళ్ళతోటి వెనుకకి నూకేస్తుంది. సో అదేవిధంగా ప్లగ్గింగ్ బ్యాక్ ఆఫ్ ప్రాఫిట్ అంటే whatever the profit is there, for example 10% is 100% is a profit, in that 75% is distributed to the equity shareholders, preference shareholders and debentures, and the remaining 25% is plugged back, just like how the dog dig the sand. In the same way the company will dig that profit and it saves something, save that amount for the future use. So what are the merits of these retained earnings? Let us see. So retained earning is a permanent source of funds. Retained earning is a permanent source of fund available to an organization. So it is a permanent source of fund. Okay, because it is self financing now, so that is a permanent source of fund that is available to the organization. It does not involve any explicit cost. Explicit means external, బయట నుంచి వచ్చిన కాస్ట్ కాదు ఇది. In the form of interest, dividend or floating cost. We no need to pay any interest, we no need to pay any dividend, we no need to pay any floating cost. Floating cost means the cost which is continuously changes. The interest rate which will be continuously changes, that is known as flotation. Okay, so here we no need to do these type of activities because this finance is an internal finance and self finance which is created by the company itself. As the funds are generated internally, there is a greater degree of operational freedom and flexibility. As these fund is generated within the organization, so there is a more freedom and flexibility in the degree of operations. Operation means activity. The business can perform their activities very freely and very flexibly, means it can change its activities or it can change the nature of its business because it having more amount of reserves, so that it can make certain changes or it can introduce a new product. So those things can be done by with the help of these retained earnings. It enhances the capacity of the business firm to absorb unexpected losses. If there is a sudden loss, okay, if there is unexpected loss, in that case also it will help the business to absorb that unexpected loss. Okay, whatever the loss is caused, that loss is also can be claimed. The loss amount can be paid by the business with the help of the amount which is reserved. Okay, which is reserved, that is retained earnings. The retained earnings are used to pay the losses which are unexpected losses. For that purpose also it will be helpful. It may lead to increase in the market price of the equity shares of the company. So by maintaining more retained earnings, it will increase the equity shares price. Okay, the shares price will be increases. The company which maintain more retained earnings, that company shares, equity shares price in the market, in the share market, those company shares price will be increases. So these are the advantages of the retained earning. Let us focus on the disadvantages of the retained earning. Those are the limitations. Okay, excessive plugging back may cause dissatisfaction among the shareholders, as there would get lower dividend. More plugging back, if you plug more and more amount back, if there is a profit of 10 rupees, in that 10 rupees profit, if you are maintaining more return earnings by giving less dividend to the equity shareholders or preference shareholders, they will dissatisfied with the dividend and it will create a problem for the business organization. Okay, it is an uncertain source of fund as the profit of the business is fluctuating. ఇది కంటిన్యూషువల్గా రిటర్న్ ఎండింగ్స్ అనేవి వీళ్ళు సేవ్ చేసుకొని పెట్టుకోగలుగుతారని చెప్పలేం. బికాస్ ఎప్పుడు ప్రాఫిట్ వస్తుందో అప్పుడు మాత్రమే వీళ్ళు సర్టెన్ అమౌంట్ని తీసి పక్కన పెట్టుకోగలుగుతారు. అదే లాస్ వస్తే ఆ లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ ప్రీవియస్ ఇయర్ ప్రాఫిట్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో ఈ ఇయర్కి వాడుకోవాల్సి వస్తుంది. సో దెర్ ఈజ్ నో కాన్స్టాంట్ స్టెబిలిటీ అనేది దీంట్లో ఉండదు. ద opportunity cost associated with these funds is not recognized by many firms. So whatever the opportunity cost is there, okay, there is a certain opportunity cost which is associated with these kinds of funds that is not considered by many of the business firms. These may lead to suboptimal use. So the retained earning can't be used fully because it will create some type of disturbance in the business organization, so that the shareholders get less amount of dividend and they are dissatisfied, and also the profits are not always, the business can't get the profits all over the years. Okay, so in the year 2020 we have COVID-19. Now new virus is also coming. Yes, for the 2021 new virus is also entering into the world. So at that time the business can't end the profits, it will face more amount of losses. At that time there will be no returned earnings. So that's why he is saying that there is a fluctuations in the return earnings. One time it will be more, one time it will be less, sometimes it will be zero. Okay, Next there is the opportunity cost, opportunity of expanding the business, and opportunity of introducing a new product. The type of things most of the firms do not give preference to that kind of things, because sometimes it may be successful and sometimes it may be failure, so they will not give such more importance to this, and these may leads to suboptimal use. Suboptimal use means the return earnings what we are saved, okay, the returned earnings what we are saved, that is not completely used, okay, that are not completely used, that is not completely used. And also one more thing, that suboptimal use means not fully used. This is about the demerits of the limitations or demerits of the returned earnings. Let us focus on the debentures. Okay, the debentures are an important instrument for raising long term debt capital. So with the debentures we can raise it is an instrument by that we can raise long term debt capital. Debt means appu nana, debt ante appu. So long term debt capital, appu మీద capital ని తీసుకురావచ్చు, చాలా long time వరకు ఉంటుంది ఇది. Okay, the money, the company can raise fund through the issue of debentures. So the company can raise the fund by issuing of debentures. The company will also issue the debentures, just like how it will issue the shares, in the same way it will issue the debentures also. It bear a fixed rate of interest. So the preference shareholders will get the fixed rate of dividend, the debenture holders will get the fixed rate of interest. ఇది గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాలి, preference shareholders will get the fixed rate of dividend, ఈ debenture holders will get the fixed rate of interest. The debentures issued by the company is an acknowledgement that the company has borrowed a certain amount of money. So if a company is issuing debentures, if a company is issuing debentures, it means that it acknowledgement means it will indicate that the company has borrowed a certain sum of money which is promised to pay on the future date, okay, which is promised to pay on the future date. For example, it has brought on 24th 12th 2020 and it is promised to pay the total amount, that is rupees 50,000 rupees on 24th 1st 2021. It is a promise to pay on that day. Up to that it will get the interest on that amount, okay, it will get the interest on that amount. The interest plus principal amount is also given, the interest plus principal amount is also given on the future date. Debenture holders are therefore termed as the creditors of the company. So debenture holders ni ఏమంటామంటే creditors of the company అంటాం. ఎందుకంటాం మేడం అంటే debenture holders కి కంపెనీ బాకీ ఉంది కాబట్టి డిబెంచర్ హోల్డర్స్ కంపెనీకి ఏమవుతారంటే క్రెడిటార్స్ అవుతారు. ఇది బాగా కన్ఫ్యూజ్ అవుతారు కాబట్టి తెలుగు లాంగ్వేజ్లో చెప్తున్నా, అర్థం చేసుకోండి. డిబెంచర్ హోల్డర్స్ ఎవరైతే ఉంటారో వాళ్ళకి కంపెనీ బాకీ ఉంది, ఓకే, కంపెనీ బాకీ ఉంది, వాళ్ళ దగ్గర నుంచి అమౌంట్ రైజ్ చేసింది, సో కంపెనీ వాళ్ళకు పే చేయాల్సి ఉంది కాబట్టి డిబెంచర్ హోల్డర్స్ని ఏమంటామంటే క్రెడిటార్స్ అంటాం. కంపెనీ బాకీ ఉంది కాబట్టి డిబెంచర్ హోల్డర్స్ని క్రెడిటార్స్ అంటాం. మరి కంపెనీకి డిబెంచర్ హోల్డర్స్ క్రెడిటార్స్ అయినప్పుడు మరి డిబెంచర్ హోల్డర్స్కి కంపెనీ ఏమవుతుందంటే డెబిటార్ అవుతుంది. ఏమవుతుందంటే డెబిటార్ అవుతుంది. ఓకే, సి కంపెనీ ఏమో డిబెంచర్ హోల్డర్స్కి ఏమవుతుందంటే కంపెనీకి డిబెంచర్ హోల్డర్స్ ఏమో క్రెడిటార్స్ అవుతారమ్మా. డిబెంచర్ హోల్డర్స్కి కంపెనీ ఏమవుతుందంటే డెబిటార్ అవుతుందా డెప్టార్ అవుతుంది. ఓకే, డెబిటార్ అంటారు, కొంతమంది డెప్టార్ అంటారు. ఓకే, సో అది అవుతుంది. దీనికి రెండిటికి కన్ఫ్యూజ్ అవుతారు, అందుకనే చెప్పిన. సో సీ హియర్ మెరిట్స్. Debentures are preferred by investors who want fixed income at a lesser risk. So debentures are preferred by those who want a fixed income and with a low amount of risk. There will be no risk at all in the debentures. Okay. So the debentures are fixed charge funds and do not participate in the profit of the company. So they do not participate in the profit of the company. Whatever the profit of the company, whatever the loss of the company, whatever it may be, they will get a fixed rate of interest every month. The issue of debentures is suitable when sales and earnings are relatively stable. So when we have to issue the debentures means when our sales and earnings means sales and earnings means income is stable, means it is a constant. When sales are very good, we are getting good profits, then we have to issue the debentures. Okay, as the debentures do not carry voting right, they do not carry any voting right. How the equity shareholders got the voting right? The debenture holders do not carry any voting right. Financially, through the debentures do not dilute the control of equity shareholders on the management. So they will not participate in the management. They will just take a fixed rate of interest and they will go aside. Okay, they don't have any voting right, so there is no problem for the equity shareholders right. Okay, whatever the equity shareholders rights are there, that are constant only. Okay, because these debenture holders and preference shareholders don't have the voting right because they are not the owners of the company. Okay, financing through debentures is less costly as compared to the cost of preference and or equity capital. So getting income from the debenture, rising capital or income or money, rising finance or capital from the debentures is less costly, means it is less expensive as we compare with the equity shareholders and preference shareholders. That is very expensive. The equity preference capital and equity capital is very expensive as compared to the debentures, because debentures will charge very fixed rate of interest and that rate is also very low, as the interest payment on debentures is tax deductible. So while paying the tax, while company paying the tax, if it has the debentures, then from the total amount the debentures amount is deductible. మినహాయింపు ఉంటుంది అన్నట్టు, పన్ను మినహాయింపు కూడా వీళ్ళకు ఉంటుంది, మీన్స్ ట్యాక్స్ డిడక్టబుల్. డిబెంచర్స్ ఆర్ డిడక్టెడ్ ఫ్రమ్ ద ట్యాక్స్, వాటి మీద ట్యాక్స్ పే చేయాల్సిన అవసరం ఉండదు. బట్ ఆన్ ద ప్రిఫరెన్స్ క్యాపిటల్, బట్ ఆన్ ద ఈక్విటీ క్యాపిటల్, ద కంపెనీ హ్యాస్ టు పే ద ట్యాక్స్. But on the debentures capital, whatever the capital brought with the help of the issue of the debentures, on that there will be no any tax. Okay, there is no tax, they are completely exempted. So these are the advantages of the debentures. So let us meet in the other session with the disadvantages of the debentures and also the variation between the shares and the debentures. Okay, welcome to all for online education, commerce theory part for the first year's English medium, and the chapter that we are dealing with, that is the 9th chapter, sources of business finance, and this is the 5th session of the chapter. So here we are going to discuss about the limitations of the debentures. The first limitation is, as fixed charge instrument, debentures put a permanent burden on the earnings of a company. There is a greater risk when earnings of the company fluctuate. If there is a profit, then the company will give the fixed rate of interest to the debenture holder. If suppose there is a loss, then what is the situation of the company? How the company will bear such a fixed rate of interest to the debenture holder? So it is very problematic and it is very risky for the company to pay fixed rate of dividend to the debenture holder, because the company profits which are always fluctuating. Fluctuating means sometimes it will be more and sometimes it will be maximum and sometimes it will be very low. So due to these fluctuations, it will become very problematic for the company to declare the fixed rate of interest to the debenture holders. In case of redeemable debentures, the company has to make a provisions for repayment on the specific date even during the period of financial difficulties. So redeemable debentures. So redeemable debentures means the company should have to pay the principal amount at a specific date. So while the company is paying the principal amount to the debenture holder of this type, redeemable debenture holder will get the principal amount at a specified date. During the specified date, if the company is facing financial difficulty, so it will become difficult and it will become very risky for the company to pay the principal amount to the redeemable debenture holder on a specified date when that company is facing financial difficulty on that specified date. Okay, each company has a certain borrowing capacity. So every company will have certain borrowing capacity from the outsiders. With the issue of debentures, okay, with the issue of debentures, the capacity of the company for further borrowing fund reduces. So every company will have certain borrowing capacity, yes, but if a company issue the debentures, then it will become highly impossible for the company to borrow further from any other source, from any other financial institutions or from any other financial banks or any other thing. It will become very difficult for the company to raise the fund if they are issuing the debentures, okay, because while issuing the debentures, the company should have to keep their assets like plant and machinery, furniture, land, building, these things in mortgage. Okay, mortgage lo pettalsi untundi kabatti, so issue of debentures causes difficulty to raise further borrowing fund for the company. So let us focus on the types of the debentures. So first is mortgage debenture. So in the mortgage debenture, a property should taken by the debenture holder under the mortgage. There are also known as secured debentures. Mortgage debentures are also known as secured debentures. The payment of interest and principal is secured. The company have to pay a fixed rate of interest and the principal amount which it borrowed from the issue of debentures. With that, the interest and the principal amount both are secured in case of mortgage debenture because they keep certain asset of the
company or any other thing under the mortgage. Okay, తాకట్టు పెట్టి తీసుకొస్తారు కాబట్టి ఎలాంటి రిస్క్ అనేది ఉండదు. ఎవరికి? డిబెంచర్ హోల్డర్కి రిస్క్ అనేది ఉండదు. సింపుల్ డిబెంచర్స్ దేర్ ఆర్ ఆల్సో నోన్ యాజ్ నాక్డ్ ఆర్ అన్సెక్యూర్డ్ డిబెంచర్స్. What we called these debentures? Nacked or unsecured debentures. They are not secured. Okay, they are not secured by any charge or security of asset of the company. So they don't have any kind of mortgage. So that's why there are unsecured debentures. Okay, simple debentures are also known as nacked debentures or unsecured debentures. They don't have any kind of security. There is no chance of getting the principal amount and fixed rate of interest because they are not at all secured. Next, redeemable debentures. So redeemable debentures means those debentures which are issued for a particular fixed time. These debentures are issued for a particular fixed time period. Okay, they are issued for a fixed time period, and after the expiry of that period, okay, after the expiry of that period, the principal amount is returned. The principal amount is returned to the debenture holder by the company. So these are generally issued for a fixed time. means 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, means it is for a fixed period of time. After the expiry of that period, whatever the principal amount that is a company brought from the debenture, that have to be returned back to the debenture holder. That is called as remedial debentures. Okay, irremedial debentures. Next one, there are not be paid back at the time of winding up. There ought to be paid at the time of winding up of the company. So they have to be paid at the winding up of the company. When the company is winding up, at the time only they have to pay these type of debentures to the company should have to pay these type of debentures only when at the time of winding up. Winding up means the company is going to be closed. At that time only irremedial debentures are paid to the debenture holder. Here there is no fixed time period. Okay, this is paid only during the winding up. There is no fixed time period. Next, registered debentures. The names of the holders are recorded in the books of the company. So the name of the debenture holder are recorded in the book of the company. Those type of debentures are known as registered debentures. Bearer debentures. The debentures which are not recorded in the register book, those debentures are known as bearer debentures. Which are recorded in the registration book, those are known as registered debentures. Which are not recorded in the registered book, those are known as bearer debentures. Next, convertible debentures. Convertible debentures are those debentures which are converted into equity shares after a specific period of time, either fully or partially. Partial ante half, fully ante mottam. So either fully or partially the debentures are converted into equity shares. Those debentures are known as convertible debentures. Next one is non-convertible debentures. Non-convertible debentures are those debentures which will never converted into equity shares. Okay, ఏవి ఈక్విటీ షేర్స్లోకి ఎప్పటికీ కన్వర్ట్ కావో those debentures are known as non-convertible debentures. So this is about the types of debentures and that are the limitations of the debentures. Let us meet in the other session with the differences between the shares and debentures. In this session we are going to discuss about the differences in detail about the shares and debentures. What are the advantages are there, what are the disadvantages of there between the shares and debentures, that we are going to discuss in the next session. That will be our our session, that will be the 6th session. Okay, right. Good morning ma, welcome to Alpha Online Education. Commerce theory part for the first year's English medium chapter that we are dealing with, that is the 7th chapter, commencement of the business, and this is the last session of this chapter, 6th session. So whatever the types we have remained in the section previous session, in the 5th session, that we will cover in this session. So the next is shelf prospectus. So section 31 Companies Act 2013 defined that prospectus that have been issued by any public financial institution, company or bank for one or more issue of securities or classes of securities as mentioned in the prospectus. When a shelf prospectus is issued, then the issuer does not need to issue a separate prospectus for each offering. He can offer or sell securities without issuing any further prospectus. So according to it, if a public company or institution or bank, anything that is public, okay, that is that want to raise the capital, for that if it will be issue the shelf prospectus, at that time it can issue one or more issue of securities. It can issue more securities, one or more securities or classes of securities, means like equity shares, preference shares, debentures, like this type of different securities it can be issued as mentioned in the prospectus. As mentioned in the prospectus, how it is mentioned in the prospectus, according to that it can able to issue. Okay,
when a self prospectus is issued, then the issuer does not need to issue a separate prospectus. If you are issuing a shelf prospectus, at that time there is no need to issue again another prospectus. Okay, prospectus is not needed again issuing. Okay, for each offering he can offer or sell the securities. So when he want to sell the securities, simply that it is the final. So whatever the things that have been we want to get from by issuing the securities, we can issue it, and after issuing the shelf prospectus, there is no need to issue again and again other prospectus. Okay. So arbitraged prospectus means, arbitrage means shorting the prospectus according to section 3 according to section 33 subsection 1. So what is he saying means, when any form for the purchase of security of the company is issued. Okay, if any form is issued in order to purchase the securities of one particular company, it must be accompanied by an arbitraged prospectus. Okay, when a form is issuing for the purchase of security, then the prospectus will be shortened. Okay, it will be reduced, it will be short. So it contains all the useful and materialistic information. It only contains whatever the information needed, what is important, only that information is contained in the arbitraged prospectus. The unnecessary information is not contained in it. It is shortened by removing all unnecessary information, so that the investor can take a rational decision, and it also reduces the cost of public issue of the public issue of capital, as it is a short form of prospectus. So by issuing these type of arbitraged prospectus, the decision maker, the investor, can take the decision quickly, and it reduces the cost of public issue. Okay, issue of the prospectus, because it is very short, so it can be easily understood by the investors. They can take the decision, unnecessary information is deducted. So that is why this is very good type of prospectus. Among the different types of prospectus, arbitraged prospectus is better, short and sweet it is. Deemed prospectus. Okay, next one is deemed prospectus. So according to section 25 subsection 1, according to section 25 subsection 1, any document by which an offer for sale of any security in terms thereof, then such document shall for all purposes be deemed to a prospectus. So for the sale of any securities, okay, for the sale of any securities in terms of then such document shall for all process. So if there is any offer for the sale of the security, at that time deemed prospectus will be issued. So it will be used for the sale of the securities. If there is any offer for the sale of the security, at that time these type of document will be issued. So this is about the types of the prospectus. So let us concentrate on the other topic, that is minimum subscription. So what is the minimum subscription? Means whatever the amount the public company has to be gathered from the public, that is the minimum subscription. If the public company fail to gather that amount from the public, at that time they have to give back that amount to the public. Let us see. The minimum amount of the capital to be collected out of the total issue. So minimum amount of the capital they have to be collected from the total issue. Whatever their total they are issuing, from that they have to get minimum amount, okay, by a public company before the allotment of shares. Before allotting the shares, the company should have to get the minimum amount of subscription. Okay, nowadays it will be 90% of issued capital. If the company fail to get the subscription amount, minimum amount, at that time it has to return back the amount what it has taken from the investors. Okay, so generally this subscription amount is fixed on the basis of the amount required for the purchase of property. Okay, with the issue of these securities only the company can purchase the property. Amount needed for the payment of preliminary expenses, means any other expenses for the payment of those expenses. Amount required for working capital for day-to-day activities. Yes, the amount required for any other expenditure for the formation of the company. Okay, on the basis of this, the minimum subscription amount is decided, or it is fixed, and it is very important. So the minimum subscription amount at present, that is 90% of the issued capital that the company should have to get. If it failed to get that amount, it has to give back the investors whatever the amount it has collected. Okay, that is about the minimum subscription. Next is certificate of commencement of business. Certificate of commencement of business means for private companies there is only one certificate is enough, that is certificate of incorporation. Already we have discussed this topic in the previous sessions. Okay, for private companies only one thing is enough, that is certificate of incorporation. But for the public companies, two types of certificates are required. One is certificate of incorporation and next one is certificate of commencement of business. These two certificates are required for the public company in order to start its business. Okay, so it is very mandatory. Yes, for that it has to issue the prospectus, it has to file, it has to get filed memorandum of association and article of association with the registrar and also the prospectus, and it has to rise the minimum subscription. Then only afterwards at the end it can get the certificate of commencement of business. After doing this all the things, the final stage is that it will get the certificate of commencement of business, and also it get the certificate of incorporation. With both two certificates only it can run its business. Let us focus on the last topic of this chapter, statement in lieu. So in case a public company raises its capital through some other means, there is no need to issue prospectus. For example, the public company is raising its capital by issuing some other document, other statement other than the prospectus, then there is no need to issue again the prospectus. If the company is issuing this statement in lieu of the prospectus, at the time there is no need to again issue. Okay, lieu. So if it issuing the statement in lieu of prospectus, then there is no need to issue separate document of the prospectus. Okay, so this statement is signed by the directors and drafted according to part 1 of schedule 3 of the act. So this document should have to be signed by all the directors, and also it is drafted, means it is prepared according to the part 1 of schedule 3 of the act. According to the act, that particular act, these statement in lieu is prepared. Okay, so this is about the types of prospectus. Minimum subscription, that will be 90%, they have to be raised. If they fail, they have to give back the amount what they have subscribed from the public. That is about the minimum subscription. And certificate of commencement of business means in order to continue the business by the public companies or public institutions, whatever it may be, they have to get two certificates: certificate of incorporation and certificate of commencement of business. And this is a statement in lieu. Okay, so this is about this chapter. So this is most important chapter. Please don't quit anything in this chapter. Okay, let us meet in some other session with some other topic. Yes. Good morning, ma. Welcome to Alpha Online Education. Commerce Theory part for the first year's English medium. The chapter that we are dealing with is the 9th chapter, Sources of Business Finance, and this is the 7th session of our chapter. So in the previous sessions we have discussed about the long-term source of finance, and in this session we are going to discuss, from these sessions we are going to discuss about the medium-term source of finance. Okay, so let us see what are the medium-term source of finance and what are the merits and demerits. That means the limitations of these medium-term source of finance. So the first one is public deposits. Generally we know what is deposit. Yes, we know what is deposit. See, when there is a bank, okay, when there is a bank, if a customer deposit his money into the bank, then that if a customer is bringing money to the bank in order to save his money for a period of 1 year or for a period of 2 years or whatever it may be, 5 year, 10 year, 20 year, whatever it may be. So what an intention of the customer is to save his money from the theft save his money from the risk. So for that purpose he is reaching to the bank. Yes. So when the bank accept that money, that will be the deposit. Okay. When the bank accept that person money, okay, when the bank is accepting this person money, then it is known as deposit. So here public deposits means number of persons coming to the bank in order to deposit their money. So here medium term source of finance, public deposits. How? Not now here public deposits means that the company is not raising the capital from the bank, it is rising from the public. Rather than public going to the bank, now they are going to the company in order to deposit their money. Okay, generally what is a deposit? I explain you that an individual or a group of persons go to the bank in order to save their money. So they will take that money and they were kept in the bank. That is a deposit in general terms. But in this session, according to our chapter, here the group of peoples are coming to deposit, deposit their money in the company. Means they want to save their money from the theft risk by depositing it into the company. Means the company is going to accept the deposit. Let us see what is there. Public deposits. The deposits that are raised by the organization directly from the public are known as public deposits. Yes. Here the organization directly, okay, the organization directly, it raising the fund from the public. It is raising the fund directly from the public. So that is known as public deposits. Here the bank is not involving. Directly it raising the fund from the public. That's why it is known as public deposit in this chapter, source of business finance. Any person who are interested, any person, okay, he have just interest, okay, what we say enthusiasm to participate, okay, in depositing money in an organization can do so by filling up a prescribed form. So they have to fill up a prescribed form. Who having the interest to deposit the money into the company, just they have to fill up a prescribed form. There is one prescribed form. They have to fill up that prescribed form. The organizations in return, okay, the organization in return, which organization? The company. The company in return issue a deposit receipt. After taking that money, the organization will going to issue a deposit receipt. Means your money is deposited in our organization as acknowledgement of the debt. As acknowledgement of the debt. Acknowledgement of the debt means the company is taking that money from the general public who having the common interest. Yes. So means the company have to give back that money to those people who want it when they want. Yes. So here they having the general interest. So that's why it will be debt for the company. Company ka appaitundi. Enduko evarki ishtamundo vallu vachi public deposit cheskunte vallaki acknowledgement ga డిపాజిట్ రిసిప్ట్స్ ఇస్తున్నారు. మళ్ళీ వాళ్ళకి ఎప్పుడు ఇష్టం ఉందో పబ్లిక్ వచ్చి వీళ్ళ దగ్గర నుంచి తీసుకుంటారు కాబట్టి ఇచ్చేయాల్సి ఉంది కంపెనీ. ద కంపెనీ షుడ్ హ్యావ్ టు గివ్. సో దట్స్ వై ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ డెప్త్ ఫర్ ద కంపెనీ. ద పబ్లిక్ డిపాజిట్స్ కెన్ టేక్ కేర్ ఆఫ్ మీడియం టర్మ్ ఫైనాన్స్ requirements of the business. So medium term finance requirements of the business can be attained with the help of public deposits. Let us move on to the merits and demerits of the public deposits. Merits means advantages, demerits means limitations or disadvantages. Merits. The procedure of obtaining deposit is simple. So the procedure is very simple to obtain deposits from the public and does not contain restrictions, conditions as are generally there in a loan agreement. So when we are taking the loan from the financial institutions or bank, there will be a lot of restrictions, there will be a lot of conditions. But when we are raising the fund from the public in the form of deposits, at that time there will be very less restrictions and it is very easy for the organization to raise the fund from the public. Next, cost of public deposit is generally lower, means whatever the returns. Okay, if we taking the loan, we have to pay interest every month, right? So that is a cost. Interest is a cost. So the cost of public deposit is generally lower than the cost of borrowing from bank and financial institutions. Okay, if you borrow the loan, the bank will charge 9% interest or 12% interest. So it will be more. So that's why the cost of public deposit is generally low and it is very suitable for the medium term source of finance for the organization. Public deposits do not usually create any charge on the assets of the company. Yes, what it means we no need to mortgage any company asset in order to raise the public deposits. Okay, in order to raise the public deposits, we no need to mortgage any asset of the company. కంపెనీకి సంబంధించిన ఆస్తుల్లో ఏ ఆస్తి కూడా మార్టిగేజ్లో పెట్టాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు. ఓకే, in order to raise the public deposit, as the depositors do not have voting right. Yes, the depositors don't have the voting right. The public depositors who are there, they don't have the voting rights. Only keep in your mind, only the equity shareholders, only they're only having the voting right. Preference shareholders, they don't have voting right. Debenture holders, they don't have voting right. Public depositors, they don't have voting right. Yes, they don't have the voting right. Only the equity shareholders who are the real owners of the business, they're only having the voting right. So they don't have the voting right. The control of the company is not diluted, means the control of the company is not weakened. Diluted means weak. So it will not weak because they are not controlling the company. The equity shareholders only controlling the company. That's why it will be very benefitable for the equity shareholders because their rights are not violating here. Yes. Next, demerits of public deposits. New companies generally find it difficult to raise fund through the public deposits. Okay, it will be difficult for the new companies because they don't have good name, that is a goodwill, manchi peru society lo company ki ela vastundi. If it work honestly, if it work hardfully, then only it can get good name in the society and that good name is known as a goodwill. Okay, that good name is known as a goodwill. This is very valuable asset for a company which we can't able to see with our eyes, but it is very important reputation for the society, in the society for the company. Yes, the company should have to maintain the goodwill so that it can easily raise the fund whatever it want. Okay, so it find difficult to raise the fund through the public deposits for the new companies. It is unreliable source of finance, means it is not always we can't take the guarantee that we can raise this source of finance regularly because it is completely based on the public. If the public is not respond, if the public is not interested, if the public is don't want to invest like this, okay, if they are not they don't have any trust on that company, they will go to the bank and they will do the deposits. So it is 50-50 chances. This is not completely sure. Okay, this is 50-50 chances whether they can get and they can't able to get from the public. So it is compulsory, they will get, we can't say they can't get compulsory, we can't say. That will be 50-50 chances whether it may be happened, it may not be happened. It is a reliable source of finance, unreliable source of finance as the public may not respond. When the company need money, when the company is in need of money, if the public is not responding, then what the situation of the company? Just you think once, the company can't raise the fund from the public deposits, then it have to go for second option, second option of the medium term source of finance. What is that? That we will discuss in the next session. Okay, next, collection of public deposits may prove difficult it will be difficult. Collection of public deposit is difficult, particularly when the size of the deposit required in large. When the company want a very large amount of deposit, okay, when the company want a large amount of deposit, then it will become very difficult for the company to raise such deposit from the public, because when the company is in need of money, at the same time the public should also show the response towards the company. If they are not responding, if they are not interested, what the company will do? The company will have to go for the second option. Okay, what will be the second option in the medium term source of finance? The company should have to move to the second option. So these are the disadvantages or demerits or limitations of the public deposit. So it is completely depend upon the public attitude and the public interest, and also on the public response. We can't say it is 100% guarantee type of source of finance, or 100% there is no guarantee for rising such source of finance from these type of deposits. Okay, so it is completely depend upon the public. Yes, so this is about the public deposits. These are the merits and these are the demerits. Okay, let us meet in the other section with the another medium term source of finance. Okay. Good morning, ma. Welcome to all for online education. Commerce theory part for the first year's English medium. The chapter that we are dealing with, the 9th chapter, that is the sources of business finance, and this is the 8th session of the chapter. So here we have to discuss about the other medium term source of finance. So that is a loan from commercial banks. Now, how the company will raise the loan? Now, how the company will raise the loan from the commercial banks. Okay, let us see the procedure and also the merits and demerits of raising the loan from the commercial bank. See, commercial banks occupy a vital position. Vital means very important position or very important role. Okay, there occupies a vital position means it's a very important role or a very important position, as they provide funds. They provide the funds for different purposes. They will provide the funds to the organizations for different purposes as well as for different time periods. Okay, for different purposes as well as for different time periods. It may be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 1 year, 2 years, whatever it may be, okay, or 30 years, whatever it may be. So it will provide the loan for a different time periods. Okay, banks extend loan to form, okay, for all sizes. It will extend the loan to form of all sizes. All sizes means what? Here the meaning all sizes. For large size business organization, for small size business organization, for medium size business organization, for micro size business organization, etc. Micro size means very small business organization, very small business organization, and in many ways it provide the loans in the form of many ways. Okay, what are those ways? Let us see. Cash credit, okay, cash credit. These things we are going to study in detail in the next session. Don't worry, that madam is not explaining these. Don't worry about that. We will study each and every topic in detail in the next session. Okay, cash credit, overdraft facility, term loans, okay, purchase, discounting of bill discounting, and issue of letter of credit. So these are the some of the ways, okay, these are some of the ways by which generally the bank issue the loan, okay, by which generally bank issue the loan for different time period for the different purposes. Okay, so this is about the information regarding the loan from the commercial banks. Now let us move on to the merits. What are the advantages of having the commercial banks to the business organization? First one, bank provide timely assistancy to business by providing funds and when needed by it. So it providing the funds, bank providing funds and also when it is needed. Who need these? Business need. Okay, when the business need the fund, okay, when the business is in need of fund, at that time the bank will provide whatever the needed fund, whatever the fund needed for the business, that is provided by the bank at the time when the business need it. Okay, that is the first advantage. Let us see the second advantage of the commercial bank. Secrecy of the business. Okay, business secrecy can be maintained as the information supplied to bank by the borrower. So who is the borrower here? Business or organization or company is a borrower. So borrower has to submit the information, necessary information to the whatever the necessary information that is required in order to raise the loan from the bank. So whatever that necessary information is there, that information should have to be submitted by the bank, by the borrower. That is maybe an organization, maybe a company, or maybe some other thing. Okay, it has to be submitted. While it's submitting its secrecy information, means secret information to the bank, nothing will be happened. Okay, why? Because the bank will keep that matter as a confidential. Confidential means it will also keep the business matter secret. Okay, it will not going to make such matters public. It is not going to tell to public about the company. Okay, it is not going to give any kind of publicity about that particular company. So it will keep the total business related information, whatever it has, completely secret, confidential. Formalities such as issue of prospectus, okay, issue of prospectus and underwritings are not required. Okay, underwritings means, you know, I have explained you underwriting means they are the brokers. Okay, they are the brokers. So underwriters are the brokers. Underwriting means an agreement. Underwriting is an agreement. So formalities such as issue of prospectus and underwritings are not required in order to raise the loan from the bank. Okay, for raising the loan from the bank, therefore it is an easier source of fund. It is easier source to raise the fund from the bank. Okay, it is very easy source to raise the fund from the bank. Next, formality. Okay, that is over. Loan from a bank is flexible source. Okay, loan from the bank is a flexible source. It is a flexible source of finance as the loan amount can be increased. Okay, the loan amount can be increased according to the business needs. Okay, what is here? The bank is flexible. Okay, if we went for 10 lakhs and if generally need arises of extra 1 lakh, then we can raise 11 lakhs loan from the bank because it is a flexible source of finance. Okay, so the loan amount we can increase according to the business needs and can be repaid. We can repay that loan amount in advance when funds are not needed, when we don't need fund. For example, we have raised the loan for rupees 11 lakhs. We have raised a loan of rupees 11 lakhs. But according to our business, we required only 5 lakhs rupees. We required only 5 lakhs rupees. So at that time what happened? How many lakhs are remain with us? 6 lakhs rupees are remain. So we can give back that 6 lakhs rupees as an advance to the bank. At the time what will be the loan amount for us? That will only 5 lakhs rupees is the loan amount because 6 lakhs rupees we have given back to the loan. So sorry, given back to the bank. Okay, these are the advantages of loans from the commercial banks. Let us see the disadvantages. Funds are generally available for a short period. So these are available for a short period and its extension renewal is
extension and renewal is undertaken and difficult. So if you want to extend the time period, generally it is given for a short period of time. Okay, generally it is given for a short period of time. If you want to extend it or if you want to renewal it, you have to, it will be very difficult and it will be very uncertain. Okay, it will be very difficult and it will be uncertain. Banks make a detailed investigation. Banks make a detailed investigation of the company affairs. So bank make the detailed investigation of the company affairs. So whether the company is in stage of profits or whether the company is in stage of losses. Financial structure also they will consider. Okay, financial structure, whether the structure of the company is in good structure or it is a bad structure. They will do this type of detailed investigation, and after that they will come to a final conclusion whether to give loan to this type of company or not. Okay, it may also ask for security of assets, means we have to keep some asset as under the mortgage. And personal securities. Personal securities means shares, we have to keep our shares, gold etc. under security, means we have to keep the shares, gold or personal property, or assets means land, buildings or machinery, anything under the mortgage. These make the procedure of obtaining the funds slightly difficult. So by keeping these all things in the mortgage, it will become very difficult to raise the fund from the commercial banks, because the bank will not call you, come take the loan, I have lot of money, I will give loan to you. In this way the bank will not perform. The bank will give loan by taking certain thing as a security. If the company is not, if the company failed to pay the amount, then who will be responsible? Company is not a natural person. The bank manager can't go and hold the collar of the company. Company collar poi patkoled kada, because it is an artificial person. So that's why security of asset and personal securities should have to be kept in the mortgage when in order to raise the loan from commercial banks. So this is about the another medium term source of finance. So in the next session we are going to discuss about the one more medium term source of finance and also the short term finance source of finances. Some of that we are going to discuss in the next session. Good morning, ma. Welcome to all for online education. Commerce theory part for the first year's English medium, the chapter that we are dealing with, the 9th chapter, sources of business finance, and this is the 9th session of the chapter. In this session we are going to discuss about the lease financing. So lease financing is a medium term source of finance. Okay, this is the last source in order to raise the medium term finance by the business organization. Let us see what is this lease financing. Okay, so a lease is a contractual agreement. It is a contractual agreement, means it is a contract. It is a contract type agreement between the two parties. Okay, a lease is a contractual agreement. Okay, whereby one party that the owner of an asset, the one party will be the owner of the asset, grants the other party the right to use the asset. The other party has the right to use the asset. Okay, it is an agreement between the two parties. One party is the owner of the asset and another party is given the right to use the asset. Okay, in return for a periodic payment. Okay, for they have to pay periodically, for monthly or for 6 months or for 3 months, whatever it may be, they have to pay periodically certain amount to the owner of the asset. Okay, see here, listen ma. Lease financing, in the lease financing it is an agreement. First thing, it is a contractual agreement, means it is a contract between the two parties. One party is the owner of the asset
and another party will use that asset. This owner of the asset will transfer the right to use an asset, transfer the right to other party to use the asset. While using the asset by the other party, it has to pay certain amount to the owner of the asset. Okay, certain amount to the owner of the asset, that is periodical payment. In the other words, if we say in other words, it is a renting of an asset, means giving an asset on the rent basis for a specified time. Okay, for a specific period of time. Okay, it is renting of an asset, means one asset is giving on the rent basis for a specific period, means for a specified period of time. The owner of the asset is called lessor. Okay, the owner of the asset is called as lessor. Okay, the owner of the asset is called as lessor, where the other party use the asset is known as lessee. Okay, the other party who is using the asset, that is lessee. Lessor means the owner of the asset. Lessee means the party who use the asset. Okay, lease finance is an important mean for modernization and diversification of the firm. Okay, for the modernization means in order to update the firm, or in order for diversification means in order to expand the firm, it is very much important. What? Lease finance is very much important. Lease finance is a contractual agreement between the two parties. One is the owner of the asset, who is known as lessor. Next, the another one who use the asset, he is known as lessee. So the lessee will pay specific amount, periodical payment to the lessor. Lessee pay the amount to the lessor. Okay. Such financing is resorted to acquiring assets like computers, electronic equipments, etc. So generally these types of agreements are made in order to get the assets. What kind of assets? Computers and other electronic equipments, plant and machinery. Sometimes buildings are also taken as a lease, or any other business is also taken as a lease. So this is about the lease financing. You have to remember 4 points here. One is lease is a contractual agreement. It is an agreement between the two parties. The owner of the asset is known as lessor, and the person who use that asset is known as a lessee. Sorry, the lessee will pay the amount specific. Okay, periodical payment. The lessee will do the periodical payment to the lessor, who is the owner of the asset. Lessor అనేటోడు ఓనర్ ఆఫ్ ద అసెట్, లెస్సీ ఏమో ఆ అసెట్ని యూజ్ చేస్తున్నారు. ఎస్, దెర్ మేక్ ఏ మ్యూచువల్ అగ్రిమెంట్. ఎస్, లెస్సార్ ఏం చేస్తుండో ఆ వస్తువుని, ఆ అసెట్ని ఇచ్చి నువ్వు వాడుకో అని చెప్పడం జరుగుతుంది స్పెసిఫిక్ టైం పీరియడ్ వరకు. అప్పుడు వరకు లెస్సార్కి స్పెసిఫిక్ అమౌంట్ రెగ్యులర్గా పే చేస్తూ ఉండాలి. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ అబౌట్ ద లీజ్ ఫైనాన్సింగ్. లెట్ us move on to the short term source of finance. Okay, this is the short term source of finance. We have nearly 8. In that I have just explained here 2. So remaining I will explain you in the next session. Okay, first one is bank credit. So bank generally provide 3 types of credits. What is that? First one is loan, second one is cash credit, and the third one is overdraft. Let us see what are these in detail. Loan means, we know what is loan. Banks loans are provided for a specified short period. Okay, generally bank loans are provided for a specified short period, means within the 1 year. Okay, the amount of the loan depend upon the size and goodwill of the firm. So the amount of the loan amount depend upon the goodwill size. Okay, goodwill means I have explained you in the previous video. Yes, based on the size and goodwill of the firm, the loan amount depend upon the size and goodwill of the firm.
bank loans are usually granted against the security of the asset. Means you have to keep some security. Security means shares, gold or anything. Or assets means plant and machinery, furniture, anything you have to keep in a mortgage, then only the bank will going to grant loan to you. Okay, next, cash credit. Bank grant cash credit up to a specified limit. Means you can withdraw the cash. You can withdraw the cash even though you don't have certain balance in your account. Okay. Business firms can withdraw any amount within the limit. Interest is charged on the actual amount. For example, in your bank you have only 50,000 rupees. For example, a business have only 50,000 rupees in the account. At that time, there is a need for the business to draw 70,000 rupees. Okay, 70,000 rupees. At that time, the business firm, okay, the business firm will draw 70,000 from their account. How, madam? Bank lo 50,000 unte 70,000 etla draw chestunnadu madam ante బ్యాంక్ వాళ్ళకు క్యాష్ క్రెడిట్ ఫెసిలిటీ ఇస్తుంది నాన్న. క్యాష్ క్రెడిట్ ఫెసిలిటీ అంటే ఒక స్పెసిఫిక్ లిమిట్ వరకు వాళ్ళు డ్రా చేసుకునే లిమిట్ అనేది ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ బ్యాంక్ వీళ్ళకు 1 lakh వరకు లిమిట్ ఇచ్చింది అనుకోండి, డ్రా చేసుకునే అమౌంట్ 1 lakh వరకు లిమిట్ ఉందనుకోండి. సో 50,000 యాక్చువల్లీ బ్యాంక్ బ్యాలెన్స్ ఉంది, అయితే అతనికి 70,000 నీడ్ ఉంది బిజినెస్లో. సో 70,000 డ్రా చేసుకున్నాడు అంటే 50,000 అతనివి సొంత డబ్బులే, 20,000 ఏమో క్యాష్ క్రెడిట్ తీసుకున్నాడు. లిమిట్ ఎంత ఉంది మొత్తానికి? 1 lakh రూపీస్ అనేది క్యాష్ క్రెడిట్ లిమిట్. ఇది అతని బ్యాంక్ బ్యాలెన్స్ కాదు, ఇది బ్యాంక్ ఇచ్చిన లిమిట్. ఇది అమౌంట్ విత్ ఇన్ ద లిమిట్ అనేది 1 lakh రూపీస్ ఉంది. ఇప్పుడు అతను 2,000 రూపీస్ అనేది 20,000 రూపీస్ అనేది విత్డ్రాల్ చేసుకున్నాడు ఈ లిమిట్లో నుంచి. అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఎంత లిమిట్ మిగిలింది? 80,000 రూపీస్ అనేది లిమిట్ మిగిలింది. ఎస్, 80,000 వరకు లిమిట్ ఉంది. సో ద ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఈజ్ చార్జ్ ఆన్ ద యాక్చువల్ అమౌంట్. ఓకే, drawn and not on the full amount of the specified limit. ఇప్పుడు బ్యాంక్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ దేని మీద ఛార్జ్ చేస్తుందంటే ఈ 1 lakh మీద ఛార్జ్ చేయదు, ఈ 80,000 మీద ఛార్జ్ చేయదు. దేని మీద ఛార్జ్ చేస్తుందంటే 80,000కి ఎంత 1 lakh అవ్వడానికి ఎంత తక్కువ ఉంది? ఇక్కడ 20,000 తక్కువ ఉంది. సో ఆ 20,000 అతను డ్రా చేసుకున్నాడు కాబట్టి ఆ 20,000 మీద అతనికి ఇంట్రెస్ట్ వేయడం జరుగుతుంది. సో దట్ ఈజ్ నోన్ యాజ్ క్యాష్ క్రెడిట్. నెక్స్ట్, ఓవర్ డ్రాఫ్ట్. Under overdraft financing facility, bank allow the business firm to withdraw the amount even more than the customer balance. Okay, సో బ్యాంక్లో ఉన్న బ్యాలెన్స్ కన్నా ఎక్కువ అమౌంట్ని డ్రా చేసుకునే ఫెసిలిటీ అనేది ఇస్తుంది. ఇవి రెండు కొంచెం సిమిలర్గానే ఉంటాయి. ఓకే, సో దీస్ టూ ఆర్ both are somewhat similar. So the limit of extra withdraw is also fixed by the bank. So extra withdraw, how much they want to withdraw extra, that is also fixed. This limit is decided on the basis of credit worthiness of the borrower. Credit worthiness means how much credit is there in his account. Based on that, the credit limit is fixed to the borrower. Interest is charged on the overdraw money. So whatever the amount that is overdrawn, on that the bank will charge the interest. Here in the cash credit, bank grant cash credit up to certain limit. The bank will give cash credit facility up to a certain limit. Okay, business firm can withdraw any amount within the limit. So for example, the bank is he having the balance 50,000, even though he wants 70,000. If he having the cash credit facility, then he can withdraw 70,000 from his 1 lakh rupees. Okay, at that time the bank will going to charge on the 70,000 rupees. Okay, the bank is going to charge on the 70,000 rupees. Why? Because so here they are not saying about the bank balance, how they have discussed here in the how they are shown here the bank balance. Okay,
customer balance. Here they are not telling about the customer balance, but these two are most similar. Okay, so this is the cash credit. Based on that, the bank will charge the interest. The bank is not going to charge on the 1 lakh rupees. So generally in the cash credit, the customer don't touch his personal account. He will use the facility of cash credit and he will withdraw that amount from the bank. Next, trade credit. Trade credit is a credit extended by one trader to another for the purchase of goods and services. So trade credit means if example a supplier is giving the goods or services on credit basis and another person is purchasing it. Okay, సప్లయర్ క్రెడిట్ మీద ఇస్తున్నాడు, అప్పు మీద ఇస్తున్నాడు. అలాంటప్పుడు వేరే వ్యక్తి దాన్ని కొనుక్కుంటున్నాడు, అప్పు మీద కొనుక్కుంటున్నాడు అనుకోండి ఆ గూడ్స్ అండ్ సర్వీసెస్. ద ట్రేడ్ క్రెడిట్ ఫెసిలిటేట్ ద పర్చేస్ ఆఫ్ ద సప్లైస్ వితౌట్ ఇమీడియట్ పేమెంట్. So the purchaser will not make an immediate payment to the supplier. Okay, such credit appears in the records of the buyer of the goods as sundry creditors and account payable. So in the books of the buyer means who purchase it. So in the books of the buyer it is shown as in the books of the buyer it is shown as a sundry creditor or account payable, means he has to pay. Account payable means these purchaser has to pay that amount to the supplier. Yes, trade supplier, they have to pay that amount to the trade supplier. Sundry creditors means already I explained you creditor. What is creditor? Sundry means they just keep like that. So sundry creditor and or account payable, both are similar. Because the purchaser has not made the payment, he said that I will pay you sometime in the future. So that's why he will record in his book. The purchaser will record in his book like sundry creditor or accounts payable. Okay, so this is about some of the short term source of finance, that is bank and trade credit. Okay, you don't confuse here overdraft and cash credit. Okay, these both are somewhat similar. Okay, so cash credit means the person who having the account in the bank, they are not going to touch their bank account. So they will totally take the amount from the cash credit itself, but in overdraft they will draw more than their bank balance. Okay, that is the main variation. ఇక్కడ ఇతనికి క్యాష్ క్రెడిట్ ఫెసిలిటీ ఇచ్చినాం కాబట్టి ఇతను ఏం చేస్తుండంటే ఆ క్యాష్ క్రెడిట్ ఫెసిలిటీని మొత్తం యూటిలైజ్ చేసుకుంటుండు. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ అతనికి 70,000 కావాలనుకోండి, మొత్తానికి మొత్తం 70,000 ఆ క్యాష్ క్రెడిట్ నుంచి తీసుకుంటుండు, అతని అకౌంట్ని టచ్ చేస్తలేడు. ఓకే, బ్యాంక్ ఏం చేస్తుంది, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ లిమిట్ పెట్టింది 1 lakh రూపీస్ లిమిట్ పెట్టింది. ఆ 1 lakh మీద ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఛార్జ్ చేయదు, ఆ 70,000 మీద మాత్రమే ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఛార్జ్ చేస్తుంది. ఓవర్ డ్రాఫ్ట్లో ఏమవుతుందంటే అతనికి బ్యాంక్ బ్యాలెన్స్ 50,000 ఉండే, అతను 70,000 డ్రా చేస్తున్నాడు అనుకోండి, అప్పుడు ఆ ఎక్సెస్ అమౌంట్ ఎంత 20,000, ఆ 20,000 మీద ఇంట్రెస్ట్ అనేది ఛార్జ్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. సో దీస్ ఆర్ ద జనరల్ వేరియేషన్ బిట్వీన్ క్యాష్ క్రెడిట్ అండ్ ఓవర్ డ్రాఫ్ట్ ఫెసిలిటీ. సో let us meet in the other session with some other topic regarding the short term source of finance. Good morning ma, welcome to all for online education commerce theory part for the first year's English medium. The chapter that we are dealing with, that is the 9th chapter, sources of business finance. So this is the 10th session of this chapter. Here we are going to discuss about some of the short term source of finance which we have left in the 9th session. Yes, installment credit. This is another method by which the assets are purchases and possession of the good is taken immediately, but the payment is made in installment over a predetermined period of time. So what it's saying means this is another method by which assets are purchases. Okay, asset is purchases. After that the possession means the right on the asset or the right on the good is taken immediately, but the total payment is not made immediately. The total payment is made in installments. The total payment is made in monthly installments, as that is predetermined period of time. As a predetermined period of time. What is the meaning of predetermined period? Means the period which is decided before. Okay, the period which is decided before, based on that they will pay the monthly installment, EMI basis. Okay, simply we can say it as EMI basis. Next, advances. Some business organizations get advances. Okay, some business organization get advances from their customers or agents. They will get the advance from their customers and agents against the orders. Okay, against the order. If a customer orders certain things in advance, they have to give to the business organization. If the agent wants certain thing, if he give an order to the business organization, then they have to give certain advance. And this source is a short-term source of finance. And this is a short-term source of finance for the business organization. It is a cheap source of finance. It is very cheap source of finance, and in order to minimize their investment in working capital, so that the organization can minimize their working capital. Working capital means the capital which is used in day-to-day activities for the purchase of raw material, for the payment of wages, daily wages, for the payment of salaries, for the payment of electricity bill. For that purpose, for that purpose a capital is required. That capital is known as working capital. So by taking these type of advances from the customers and agents, it will minimize, it will reduce the investment. Okay, it will reduce the investment of the business organization in working capital. Working capital lo business organization invest చేయాల్సిన అవసరం ఉండదు. ఈ అడ్వాన్స్ తోటే బిజినెస్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్ డే టు డే యాక్టివిటీస్ రన్ అవుతాయి. ఓకే, కమర్షియల్ పేపర్స్. కమర్షియల్ పేపర్ ఈజ్ అన్ అన్సెక్యూర్డ్ ప్రామిసరీ నోట్. It is not a secured promissory note. Promissory note means the person give the promise that he will purchase the goods today, and he will give the promise that I will pay you on some specific date. Okay, he will purchase today and he will promise to pay on a specific date in the future. For example, on 23rd December 2020 he purchased the good. He promised to pay on 29th January 1st 2021. That type of promissory note. Generally these promissory note will be in written, not in oral. Okay, issued by a firm to raise the fund for a short period. It is issued by the firm. The promissory notes are unsecured, and those are issued by the firm to raise the fund for a short period, varies from 90 days to 364 days. Okay, the time duration will be 90 days to 364 days. It is issued by one firm to other business firm. So it is generally issued by one business firm to another business firm, or one business firm to other insurance companies, or for pension fund and for the banks. Okay, it will issued by one organization to another organization. It is issued by one organization to other organization. Those are commercial papers. Next, bill discounting. Bill discounting is also called as invoice discounting. Bill discounting is also called as invoice discounting. It is an act of sourcing working capital. It is also a type of getting working capital for future payables. For the future payable, what is the future is there? In the future they will going to pay. They will purchase today, but they will pay on the future. By discounting, the seller recover the amount of the sale from the financial intermediaries before the due date of the bill. So what is these means? I will explain you with one example. For example, X is a company and Y is a supplier. X is a company, Y is a supplier. Y supplied certain goods to X, whose value is rupees 2,500 rupees. Whose value is rupees 2,500 rupees. Now the X is a company. The company told that present I don't have money, so I will give you on specific date. Okay, when they will purchase actually 2,500 rupees goods, they purchase on 22nd December 2020, and the company giving a promise that it will going to be it will give one bill. Okay, it will prepare one bill. The company will prepare one bill, and in that bill there will be the amount 2,500 rupees, and on which date the supplier have to go to the bank and have to collect the amount is also that specific date, future date kuda din meeda edam జరుగుతుంది 29/12/2020 అంటే ఆఫ్టర్ నియర్లీ 1 వీక్ తర్వాత వెళ్ళి అతను కలెక్ట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు బ్యాంక్ దగ్గర నుంచి. దిస్ ఈజ్ ఏ బిల్. ఓకే, ఇది బిల్. అయితే వై ఏం చేస్తాడంటే ఈ డేట్ కన్నా ముందే 29th రోజు వెళ్ళి బ్యాంక్లో ఇస్తే అతనికి అమౌంట్ 25,000 ఇస్తారు. బట్ యాక్చువల్లీ వాట్ ద వై డిడ్, he went on 25/12/2020 he went to bank. ఓకే, ముందే వెళ్ళిపోయిండు. ముందే వెళ్ళిపోతే బ్యాంక్ ఏం చేస్తుందంటే 2,500 రూపీస్లో నుంచి కొంచెం కట్ చేసుకొని దీంట్లో నుంచి కొంచెం మైనస్ చేసుకొని అతనికి 2,000 రూపీస్ ఇస్తుంది. ఓకే, ద బ్యాంక్ విల్ గివ్ 2,000 రూపీస్ టు ద వై బై డిస్కౌంటింగ్ ద బిల్. It will discount these 2,500 by discounting, it will be 2,000 rupees. The bank will discount that bill. So when it is a date, actual date on 29th, but he went before the date on 25th only he went to bank. Why is a supplier? He went before the date. Yes, he went before the date. So when he went before the date, the bank will discount the bill and it will give only 2,000 rupees, and it will deduct the 500 rupees because he came before the date. Okay, actual date is 29th. On that day he can claim the total amount, but he came earlier now. That's why the bank will cut that amount, and on actual date on 29th the bank will send, the SBI bank will send that amount to the send that bill to the RBI, and SBI will claim the total amount, that is 2,500 rupees totally claimed by SBI on 29th December. But the Y supplier will get only 2,000 rupees because he came before the expiry date. That is known as bill discounting. Working capital loan or loan that is taken to finance the company day-to-day operations. In order to carry day-to-day operations of the business, working capital is required. Next, microfinance. Micro means very small. Microfinance is a financial service targeting individuals and small businesses. It will generally target the individuals and small businesses who lack access to conventional banking and retail services. So who don't have the money, they can't go to the banks and other services, they can raise the finance from the microfinance. Okay, so microfinance helps to promote economical development, employment and growth through the support of micro enterprises and small businesses. Okay, small businesses can be started with the help of the microfinance. Okay, this is bill discounting, and this is the working capital which is required for day-to-day activities, and this is a microfinance which is required for an individuals, okay, for sole proprietors or for small businesses. Okay, for them microfinance is very helpful. So with this microfinance, it will be the economic will be developed, the employment will be developed, and also there will be more growth for the micro enterprises, and also small businesses will be increases with the help of the microfinance. So this is about the short term financial services. Let us meet in other session with some other topic. Good morning, ma. Welcome to all for online education. Commerce theory part for the first year's English medium. And this chapter we are dealing with it, that is the 9th chapter, Sources of Business Finance, part 11. So in this session we are going to discuss about the institutional sources of finance. So which institutions are giving finance for the businesses in order to run successfully. So here we have the two levels. In that, first is at the national level institutions. At the national level institutions, those are again classified into all India development banks. All India development banks like Idbi, Idbi, IFCI Limited, IIBI. Okay. Next, specialized financial institutions like IVCF, ICICI Venture Funds Limited, TFCI. Okay. Next, investment institutions like LIC, GIC, UTI, etc. All India Development Banks. All India Development Banks. AIDBS. All India Development Banks. Various AIDBS means All India Development Banks, which provide institutional credit. They provide the institutional credit to not only large medium enterprises but also helps in promotion and development of small scale industrial units. It is not only giving finance for the long or medium term enterprises, okay, it also giving the finance for the small scale and industrial units, okay. So all India development banks are providing the finance not only for the large or medium scale businesses, it also providing the finance for the small scale industries also. In that, the first one, Industrial Development Bank of India, IDBI. So what is this? Industrial Development Bank of India is started in order to develop the industries by providing the loans to the industries. So it was established in July 1964 as a financial institution for industrial development, for the industrial development of the country. So in India, for the industrial development, for that purpose, it was started or established on July 1964. It was established in July 1964 for the development of the industries in the India. It caters to the diversified needs of the medium and small scale industries. So it will provide the fund for the medium and small scale industries, medium and large scale industries in the form of financial assistancy. Okay, it providing the finance to home for the medium term industries and for the large scale industries, and for the medium scale industries it providing the finance, okay, in the form of assistancy. So there is a direct assistancy and indirect assistancy. So whereas come to direct assistancy, that are project loans and soft loans, technical refund loans. These are all the names for the loans. But see, one thing is that these financial institution will provide the loan for the industrial development. Next, indirect assistancy. So here, refinance facility to the industrial concerns means there can rise the loan from one institution and there can pay the loan of other institution. ఒక ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్ నుంచి లోన్ తీసుకొని ఇంకో ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్కి పే చేసేసి మళ్ళీ అక్కడి నుంచి ఇంకో లోన్ తీసుకొని ఈ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్లో పే చేసేయడం, ఇలాంటి సర్కిల్ అన్నట్టు రీఫైనాన్సింగ్. ఓకే, రీఫైనాన్సింగ్ పర్పస్ it also providing the refinance facility. Okay, so this is about Industrial Development Bank of India. It is started in 1964 in order to develop industries all over the India. Next, Industrial Finance Corporation of India Limited, that is IFCI Limited. So according to IFCI was development financial institution set up in 1948. It is a development financial institution. It is started for the development purpose.
development purpose it was started. Long-term institution credit to medium and large industries. It provide credit to medium and large scale industries. Its aim is to provide financial assistance to industry by way of rupee. So it will providing the assistance means it is providing the money, it will providing the finance to the industries. It is providing the finance to the industries in the form of rupees. Okay, it is providing in the form of rupees, foreign currency loans, underwriters, subscribers, the issue of stock, shares, bonds, etc. So it will provide the money which to the medium and long term industries in the form of rupee and also foreign currency loans. It will provide the money in the foreign currency, means in the dollars or any other country currency. Underwriters subscribe the issue of stock, shares, bonds, etc. Means the brokers will take the responsibility of issuing the stock, okay, and shares and bonds in the stock market. So this is used for the development of industry by the financially. So it is started in 1948 and it provide credit to medium and large industries. Let us move on to the Small Scale Industrial Development Bank of India, that is SIDBI. Okay, SIDBI. SIDBI was set up by the Government of India in April 1990. It was set up in April 1990 as a wholly owned subsidiary of IDBI. It is a subsidiary of IDBI, means it also belongs to the IDBI. SIDBI belongs to the IDBI. It is a subsidiary, okay, subsidiary of the IDBI. So it is the principal financial institution for promotion, financing and development of small scale industries in the economy. It is used for the development of only small scale industries, whereas IDBI is used for the development of large and medium sized industries, but the SIDBI is used for the development of small scale industries. Okay, for the promotion means development, for the financing in order to provide the finance and development of the small scale industries in the economy. Its aim to empower the micro, small and medium enterprises. Its main aim is to increase the micro industries, small scale industries and medium scale industries or enterprises. So for economical growth, employment generation and balanced regional development. Balanced regional development means development of all the regions of the country. Balanced regional development means development of all the regions of the country, not only one region, okay, not only particular Telangana or Andhra Pradesh or Tamil Nadu, all the regions of the country equally developed. Okay, for this purpose the SIDBI has been established. So let us meet in other session with the remaining institutions which are providing help to the industries in order to develop. Okay, yeah. Good morning ma, welcome to Alpha Online Education, Commerce Theory part for the first year's English medium. The chapter that we are dealing with, that is the 9th chapter, Sources of Business Finance, and this is the 12th session of our chapter. Here we are going to study about the Industrial Investment Bank of India Limited, which we have left in the previous session, that we are going to complete here. So it was set up in 1985. So when was this set up? Means it is started in 1985. Okay. Under the industrial reconstruction. Reconstruction means again development. Okay. Actually there is developed. Again they make certain corrections, changes, and again they redevelop it. Okay. Reconstruction of Bank of India Act 1984. According to the Reconstruction Act 1984, it was reconstructed, means certain changes are made in it, and it was started in 1985 as the principal credit and reconstruction agency for SIC industrial units. Means SIC industrial units means those industrial units which are completely under the losses, which are suffering very huge loss.
For those companies for those industries it will provide the principal credit, means it will provide the finance for those industries which are suffering with the problem of losses. For that it will provide the finance so that those companies can stand again in the business environment. So that is about the Industrial Investment Bank of India Limited. So next one is here, specialized financial institutions. So some of the specialized financial institutions are there. Let us see what are those. IFCI Venture Capital Funds Limited. What is that? IFCI Venture Capital Funds Limited, and it is abbreviated as IVCF. It is abbreviated as IVCF, formerly known as Risk Capital and Technology Finance Corporation Limited. Okay, formerly means it is also known as Risk Capital and Technology Finance Corporation Limited. Okay, it is also called as in this way. It is a subsidiary of IFCI Limited. So it is a subsidiary means it also function for the same purpose how IFCI Limited is functioning. In the same way it also function for the same development purpose. So that's why it become the subsidiary of IFCI. Funding to ventures. It provide fund to the ventures. Okay, for the development of the ventures. It involved innovation. Innovation means development. Development of the products, development of the process, or the development of the technology of the ventures. For that, for the development of the ventures, it provide the finance. Okay, so IFCI Venture Capital Fund Limited is also abbreviated as IVCF. It is also known as Risk Capital and Technology Finance Corporation Limited, RCTC. Okay, it is a subsidiary to IFCI Limited. Okay, so it is providing fund for the ventures involving the innovations such as product innovation, process innovation, or technological innovation. Next, ICICI Venture Fund Limited. ICICI Venture Funds Limited. Here, formerly known as Technology Development and Information Company of India Limited. So it is also known as, formerly means it is also in another way it is known as Technology Development, means it is used, this venture fund is used for the technological development and information company information. Okay, in order to develop the company, that this type of venture fund is used in India. Okay, it is abbreviated as TDICI. T means technology, D means development, I means information, C indicates company, again I means India. Okay, was formed in 1988. When it was formed in 1988 as a joint venture. Joint venture means more than 2 members are involved in this venture with the unit trust of India. Joint venture with the unit trust of India. What it means here, TDIC is also involving, and UTI, Unit Trust of India, UTI. Okay, these two are involving as a joint venture partners. The industrial units assessed by it are in the field of computer, chemical, drugs, etc. So these provide the fund, these provide the finance for the development of the computers, chemicals, drugs and environment related developments. It is mainly concentrate on that. It is known as ICICI Venture Fund Limited. Yes, next one, Tourism Finance Corporation of India Limited. So it is abbreviated as TFCI, is a specialized financial institution set by the Government of India. It is set by the Government of India for the promotion and growth of tourist industry in the country. Means tourist industries means like Nagarjuna Sagar and also Salagium Museum, Charminar. These are the tourist spots. Okay. So when foreigners came to India at the time, if they contact to these tourist industries, they will send one guide along with the tourist people, along with the foreigners. that tourist guide will explain each and everything, the history behind the constructions and whatever the stones are used during the constructions and who built those constructions and whatever the things happened during that. He will explain whole and soul regarding this. So that is why it is known as Tourist Finance Corporation of India Limited. Mainly the central government mostly concentrate on the tourist because it is a most important source for the India to get the income. Next, investment institutions. Investment institutions. Let us see the investment institutions. Next, first one is Life Insurance Corporation of India. Life Insurance Corporation of India. So it is abbreviated as LIC. It is abbreviated as LIC. So it was established in 1956. It was established in 1956, wholly owned corporation of Government of India. So it is wholly owned, means the total power, control, everything, whole and soul is owned. Owned means the owners of LIC is the Government of India. It was formed by the Life Insurance Corporation of India Act 1956. Okay, it is started with the Life Insurance Corporation of India Act 1956 with the objective of spreading life insurance much more widely and in particular to the rural areas. In order to spread the life insurance, mainly targeting to the rural areas because the rural peoples don't have that much knowledge about the securing their life from the uncertain risks which will be arise in the life. So after the death, how he can protect his family by taking the life insurance, that is explained in the Life Insurance Corporation of India. There are a number of insurance schemes. Based on that, the family can claim the amount even after the death of the insured person. Okay. Here it also extended assistance for the development of infrastructure facilities like housing, rural electrification, water supply, etc. So there are some other type of it also extends assistance for the development. So LIC is also providing the fund for the infrastructure development. Infrastructure development means water supply development, road, okay. Rural electrification. Electrification means rural electricity and also housing facilities to the rural peoples. So these types of some of the schemes are there in LIC which provide so many type of benefits to the people. Next, General Insurance Corporation. So one thing you have to remember, LIC is taken for the life and this is taken for the properties. General Insurance Corporation. The entire general insurance business in India was nationalized by General Insurance Business Act 1972. So it was nationalized. Total nation all over India it was applicable as a General Insurance Business Act 1972. GIC of India was formed in pursuance of section 91 of GIDNA. Okay, it was formed in 1972 under section 9 subsection 1 of GIDNA. It was incorporated, means it started functioning from 22nd November 1972 under the Companies Act 1956. Okay, it started functioning from the incorporation means starting. It started on 22nd November 1972 under the Companies Act 1956. Okay, this is about the General Insurance Corporation. So Unit Trust of India, UTI. So it is a statutory public sector investment institution which was set up in February 1964. It was set up in February 1964. It is a public sector. It is a public sector investment. Means general public can also be invest here. Under the UTI Act 1963, UTI began its operations in July 1964. Actually, it was under the Act 1963, but it started functioning from July 1964. So it provided the finance for the, it will help for the rural peoples, okay. It encouraged the saving habits in the rural people so that they can also be stand as same as how the urban people are living. And also it is, it boosts a habit among the people that pooling the savings. It encouraged the people to do more savings, and it reduced unnecessary expenses for the people. So it was actually it is under the Act 1963, but formally it was started functioning from 1964, and it was set up in February 1964. Okay, it functioning from July 1964. So the remaining topics which are left here we will discuss in the other section, that is in the 13th session. Yes. Good morning, welcome to all for online education. Commerce theory part for the first year's English medium. The chapter that we are dealing with, that is the 9th chapter, sources of business finance, and this is the 13th session of this chapter. So here we have the state level institutions, two institutions are there. So State Finance Corporation, that is abbreviated as SFCS, State Finance Corporation. So the State Finance Corporation came to be organized in individual states. So it is organized in individual states, means in Telangana, in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Odisha. So in these way, individual states, it is organized in individual states. After the enabling central act, means after the getting permission from the central government, it started started these type of corporation in individual states. To these effect came into force in August 1952. So it is started from August 1952. There are state level organizations for the provision of the term finance to medium and small scale industries. So it provides the finance for the medium and small scale industries. Okay, so State Finance Corporation got the approval from the central government. After the approval, it was started in every state, every individual state. It started in work in force from August 1952. So it is provide the fund for the development of medium and small scale industries. And the next one is State Industrial Development Corporation or State Industrial Investment Corporation. State Industrial Development Corporation or State Industrial Investment Corporation. So what it is means, the SIDS or SIIC are providing finance and performing a variety of functions such as arranging for land, power, roads and license for industrial units. So they're performing different types of functions. What? They're providing the land for the industries, they're providing the power for the industries, they're providing the roads for the industries and license for the industries, okay, and sponsoring the establishment of such units, okay. They are sponsoring power, they are sponsoring the roads, they are sponsoring the license, they are sponsoring the land. In this way they are helping the industry. Sponsoring means they will keep the total expenditure. The industries no need to keep any kind of expenditure, okay, especially in the backward area. So these type of services are providing to the industries which are in the backward area. So this is about the state level institutions, okay. This is the most important thing here. Next we have international source of finance, okay, international sources of finance. So this is another topic. So in these international sources of finance, it is broadly classified into 4 categories: American depository receipts, global depository receipts, Indian depository receipts and foreign currency convertible bonds, okay. Now American depository receipts are abbreviated as ADRS and global depository receipts are abbreviated as GDRS. Indian depository receipts are abbreviated as IDRS. Foreign currency convertible bonds are abbreviated as FCCBs. Okay, let us see what is American depository receipts and global depository receipts in this session. The remaining two types of receipts we will discuss in the next session. Okay, so American depository receipts. American depository receipts receipt is issued by any US bank. US bank means United States. So any US bank will issue these types of depository receipts. Okay, any bank will issue these type of depository, what you deposited, that receipt. Okay, the first ADR, the first American depository receipt was started by JP Morgan in 1972. So in 1972, JP Morgan, he introduced this first time. He is a British retailer. Who is he? He is a British retailer. Retailer means wholesalers దగ్గర నుంచి తీసుకొచ్చి కస్టమర్స్కి అమ్మేటోడు, వ్యాపారస్తుడు ఇతను. It is basically a negotiable instrument. Negotiable instrument means we can, for example, I have American depository receipts. I can transfer it to you. Okay, you can transfer to your friend can transfer to some other. So that is transferable instrument. Okay, so which represents a specific number of shares. So this is a type of share. Okay, American depository receipt is a type of share. How we have here equity shares, preference shares, debentures. In the same way, in the foreign countries, they have American depository receipts, like that names are there. In a foreign stock exchange that is traded on a US exchange. So these shares are traded on the US exchange. Okay, the majority of ADRs range in the price from $10 to $100 per share. So $10 to $100 per share. One share value is $10 to $100. Between that there will be the price of that share. American deposit receipts are the shares which are traded on the US exchange. American depository receipts are listed on. Listed on means there are recorded. Okay, those receipts are recorded on New York Stock Exchange, American Stock Exchange, etc. Okay, in this way these American depository receipts are listed. Listed కావడం అంటే అర్థం ఏంటిదంటే మీ పేరు సారీ మా మీ పేరు ఎలా రిజిస్టర్లో ఉంటుందో, రాసి పెట్టి ఉంటుందో, అటెండెన్స్ రిజిస్టర్లో మీ పేరు ఎలా ఉంటుందో అలానే ఆ కంపెనీకి సంబంధించిన అమెరికన్ డిపాజిటరీ రిసిప్ట్స్ షేర్స్ అవి అక్కడవి షేర్స్ అవి. సో అవి సేమ్ అలానే లిస్టెడ్ అయి ఉంటాయి. ఏ అటెండెన్స్లో లిస్ట్ అయి ఉంటాయి అవి? న్యూయార్క్ స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్. స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్ అంటే తెలుసు కదా మీకు. న్యూయార్క్ స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్ అండ్ అమెరికన్ స్టాక్ ఎక్స్చేంజ్లో ఏమై ఉంటాయి? లిస్టెడ్ అయి ఉంటాయి. ఓకే, గ్లోబల్ డిపాజిటరీ రిసిప్ట్స్. This is permitted only for America, but this is global, means total globe. A global depository receipt is very similar to American depository receipt. It is very much similar to American depository receipt. Global depository receipt is a bank certificate issued in more than one country for shares in foreign country. Okay, it is a bank certificate. It is a bank certificate that is issued in more than one country. This certificate is issued in more than one country. That is a bank certificate that is issued by more than one country for shares in the foreign company. Okay, in order to get the shares of the foreign company, the bank should have give a certificate. Okay, the bank should have to give one certificate. That certificate should be, the investor should have to receive that certificate from more than one country. Means India, America, US, India, America, Britain, France, Italy, ఇలా number of countries నుంచి తీసుకురావాలి. There are more than 900 global depository receipts. Okay, listed on the exchanges worldwide. On the worldwide, on the total world, nearly more than 9,000 global depository receipts. Okay, global depository receipts are listed on exchanges worldwide. Okay, the global depository receipts are mainly listed in the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, London Stock Exchange, etc. So mainly these type of global depository receipts are listed on mainly on Frankfurt Stock Exchange or London Stock Exchange, but actually they are listed on more than 900 global depository receipts. They are listed on worldwide exchanges, worldwide stock exchanges. So this is about the American depository receipts and this is about the global depository receipts. Let us see in the other session about the Indian depository receipts and foreign currency convertible bonds. Okay? Yes. Good morning, ma. Welcome to Alpha Online Education. Commerce theory part for the first year's English medium. The chapter that we are dealing with is the 9th chapter, Sources of Business Finance, and this is the 14th session of the chapter and this is the last session. Here we are going to discuss about the Indian depository receipts. Okay, so what are Indian depository receipts? An Indian depository receipt is an instrument in the form of depository receipt created by the Indian depository in India against the underlying equity shares of the issuing companies. So these are the depository receipts which are issued in India against the underlying means those are already in the listed, those securities which are already listed. Okay, against that the Indian depository receipts are issued. Okay, IDRs are listed on the stock exchange in India. Okay, Indian depository receipts are listed on Indian stock exchange and are freely transferable. Okay, these are freely transferable. We can transfer these securities to anyone freely. Okay, IDRs can be issued with the prior approval from Security Exchange Board of India. Okay, in order to issue these type of securities, okay, in order to issue these type of depository receipts or security, we have to get the permission from Security Exchange Board of India, that is SEBI. Okay, Indian depository receipts are a type of receipts that are issued in India and they can be easily transferable. Okay, these are listed on the Securities Exchange Board of India. Okay, these required permission from Securities Exchange Board of India and these are listed on the stock exchanges in India. In India we have three famous stock exchanges: Bombay Stock Exchange, National Stock Exchange and Kolkata Stock Exchange. So in these stock exchanges these Indian depository receipts are listed. And foreign currency convertible bonds. Foreign currency convertible bonds means those things which can be converted into, those currency which can be converted into bond. Okay, so foreign currency convertible bonds have assumed a great importance for various multinational companies. So it is very advantageable, it is a very much advantage for the multinational companies. What are called as multinational companies means the company which are doing their business or activities more than one country. Okay, for example, their head office in India and their branches all over the world, in Germany, in Austria and in France, in Britain, in Italy, in China, in Bangladesh. So if they are having the branches all over the world, those companies are known as multinational companies, MNCs. Okay, we are going to study about them in detail in the upcoming sessions, MNC companies. Okay, yes, a foreign currency convertible bond is a type of convertible bond in which the money is raised by issuing a company in the form of foreign currency. So here we generally convert the money into foreign currency, means Indian rupee into US dollar. Okay, these type conversions are made
in order to convert those currency into the bonds. Okay, foreign currency convertible bonds are issued in currencies different from the issuing company domestic currency. For example, a company in India, as I told you, the company of India that has a domestic currency, that is rupee, so it will be issued in a dollar. So those type of issues are known as a foreign currency. There will be issued in the foreign currency. The Indian company will issue in the foreign currency. Foreign companies will issue in some other country's currency, means opposite countries' currencies. So those types of currency issues and the bond is a paper issue, a conversion of those currency into foreign currency that required a bond, that is convertible bond. Okay, we have to convert the Indian currency into foreign currency when we want to issue the currency over to the foreign currency convertible bonds. Okay, up to here the chapter is completed, and in the next chapter we are going to study about the multinational companies in detail. So let us meet in the other session with some other topic. Yeah.